Perfect. Let me do some alterations real quick. Okay. I'm not going to meddle with it anymore. I'll just leave it as is and we'll just do what it does. So I am Kameka Goodwin. I'm from Healthy Black Families. We're an organization in Berkeley, and it's a nonprofit that does a lot of work around just helping our families in Berkeley get healthy. And we do that in various different ways. But I'm also a grandmother, and I also am a former parent. All my children went to Craigmont, so I have special love for Craigmont. And so my coworker, Suzette, she presented this PowerPoint last year, and she was going to do it this year, but some things happened. So I bravely stepped up to fill in for her, just to give you guys some history on our wonderful Black superheroes in Berkeley. So the first one is Mabel Howard. Does anybody ever heard of Mabel Howard? No, and I didn't either. I didn't either until recently. I found out that Mabel Howard, in the 1960s, Miss Howard fought against the BART. Now, I want you guys to stop for just a quick second. And in the chat, can you let me know if you've ever been on a BART train or have ever been at a BART station? Just real quick, everyone kind of type in your favorite station or if you've ever been to one, because BART is a big organization, a big company. And so what Ms. Howard did, while you guys are typing in the places you've been to, I'm really curious just to see so we can get an idea of how big BART is. Ms. Howard in the 60s, she fought against the BART trains running above ground because it would have divided her community. Now, if you think about it, there's 3 BART stations in Berkeley, and all 3 of them are underground, as opposed to like MacArthur and other BART stations who have their trains running right through, very loud and toxic, not really good for the community. So she said, no, it's not going to happen. And because of Mama Howard, BART agreed to move the train line underground. She also was a superhero because she helped a lot of leaders by organizing in her home for them to come in and plan things out. She was very social and community activist. She, loved activities, and she would always say if she could put her arms around the whole world, she would. So she is a superhero for us because Berkeley, the BART is a big power company, and for Miss Howard to do that, that's why she has made it to our superheroes of Berkeley. So I'm gonna have my daughter and a parent of Craigmont, Anika, if you could look in the chat and see how many places have we traveled on BART, as we think about, this big mega company and this one person from Berkeley. Most people don't even know Berkeley. When you're traveling, you have to say San Francisco or Oakland for them to kind of get an idea of what Berkeley and where Berkeley is. So just to give everyone an idea of, how she went up and who she went up against, how many different BART stations that we have in the chat.
So we have a lot of people at Ashby go to Ashby or use Ashby BART, North Berkeley BART, Hayward, Airport, Oakland Coliseum, San Francisco, and Oakland Coliseum.
Right. And see, and I just want you guys to just get an idea of how big BART is in the Bay Area and how she must have been just tremendously brave to go up against them. And I thank her because I live near Ashby BART, and I would hate to hear a BART train going by every so minute. So I'm really grateful for her sacrifice and the hard work she put in to make that happen for us. All right, so the next person is William Rumford. And please forgive me about the my PowerPoint. There's some glitches, but it's all good. I am still happy to be here. And thank you guys for just really honoring this time for us to just reflect on this moment in history. So William Rumford. And Miss Howard and William, they both had birthdays this month. So happy birthday, belated birthday to them. But Mr. Rumford, he was an American pharmacist and a politician. He was the first African-American elected to a state public office in Northern California. He wrote the 1959 Fair Employment Practice Act and the 1963 Rumford Fair Housing Act, which banned discrimination in employment and housing, which is something that's, is very major. A sculpture of William Rumford stands directly across the street from the pharmacy that he ran for many years at 2960 Sacramento Street. And to give you a more description of it, it's a cup maybe between Ashby Avenue and Russell Street. The sculpture stands right there. And I was there for the revealing. Some of his family members were there. A lot of community members were there. And it was just a big event. They blocked off Sacramento Street and everyone just really celebrated him. So I would advise you and really challenge you guys to go by and take a look. I don't know if you're familiar with the area, but on the corner of Ashby and Sacramento, there is the William Rumford apartment complex that the city named after him. There's a martial arts organization right there, a store, another natural, I think it's honey or oil that they have there. And then the structure, the sculpture of Mr. Rumford is right in that area. So definitely, if you guys have a chance, I would love for you guys to go down and take a look. It's an amazing sculpture, and I love that it's right there where he, did community work. So the next person is Pastor Michael A. Smith. Pastor Smith is a Berkeley native. He went to Berkeley schools, and he's a pastor of the McGee Avenue Baptist Church, and he's been there since 2006. In 2013, he funded the Center for Food, Faith, and Justice, which focuses on issues of environmental and food justice, health equity, and economic development. The CFFJ has lots of programs, including cooking classes for all ages, fellowship programs for young people who want to do neighborhood outreach. He work in the areas of nutrition. He has sustainability and housing. There's also a fellowship for young, my God. Want to make sure I really just honor because he's doing a lot of work. So he also has a fellowship for young people interested in urban gardening. Another thing that Michael does, they feed the homeless. They feed the homeless 3 times a week, and he has faithful community members from his church that come and feed the homeless people. But what I also like is what he does for the youth. He partners with YAP, which is called the Young Adult Project / Grove Park. They have a rec center over there. And every year when we have the National Night Out, and I think it's about August, they do a big celebration, and all of the youth workers at the rec center come over to the church, and they do face painting, jumpers, they have food, they have dance contests, live music. And so it's just really a nice time to be out, and he's right there in the mix, socializing with everybody, and this really helps you feel that Berkeley vibe that we all have grown to love. I want to ask a question though. Has anybody ever been to the National Nights Out over there at the church? If not, I really recommend it. I really would recommend it. Last time I was there, I think We had Ben Bartlett came by, a lot of the community folks come by, a lot of the pastors join in with Michael to make sure they have, this is a great opportunity to get out. There's a lot of vendors there. We have a lot of the after school programs there with staff. They're recruiting, they're telling parents about opportunities for their children to get into different programs. So it's really just like, it's National Night Out, but it's also just a community fest, and it's a time to really just kind of get connected with that South Berkeley community. So I really would just advise you guys to keep an ear out for the next National Night Out, which is in August, and just really go check them out. They're doing great things over there. I have a question for my little people. I want to know though, Pastor Michael Smith, he is everyone's like big superhero. He cares a lot about children. He likes to play sports with them. He just really likes to, get to know them. So I want you guys to go back to the chat, get your fingers ready, and type in the name of someone you think about when you think about someone who cares about you and loves for you to just be your real self, your natural self. So think about it for a minute if you need to, and then put in the chat somebody. You can give the personal name, or you can just let me know, teacher, parent, but someone that you think about when you think about someone who cares about you and wants you to do good things in your community. Because that's what Michael Smith is to me. That's why he's a superhero of Berkeley, because he's always gone above and beyond to make sure that everybody was just being their best self in whatever way that is in the community. So Anika, when you get a chance, let me know some people that our Craigmont family thinks about when they think about superheroes who care. Do I still have Anika? Okay, well, I don't know what happened to Anika, unless she's muted, but I will get back to those names because I'm curious to see, what do you think about? I think about Michael Smith, but then I also think about another gentleman who is part of the Berkeley community. His name is Brother Newt, and he is an activist, and he's just everything. He's everything for everybody in the South Berkeley community. And I keep referencing South Berkeley community because that's where I grew up from. And it just brings back warm memories of people who are still in your neighborhood to care.
I'm here to read some of these names.
Okay.
So we have, sorry, working with a new computer. Maria and Danny, who said their grandpa. We also have a lot of people said their parents. Someone said Miss Rojo. Rebecca said Mr. Rojo. Niara and Jamie said their uncles and their mom. Berkeley family said mom, dad, and Miss Aki. Sorry, can't hear you.
Kameka, I think you're muted.
I know I was muted, then I unmuted, and then I'm just like,
okay, now I can hear you.
Right, yeah, and this is a computer I deal with all the time. But today it started doing some weird things. I don't know if it's the cell, yeah, it was doing some weird things. So I was prepared. So that's why I have my backup. So let me go back to sharing my screen. All right. So yeah. So as I was saying, I feel that, and it's really important. I'm really, really happy that people have people that can think about who cares about how they thrive and grow. So I'm really, really happy about that for you guys. That's what it's all about. So next we have Adele Sharik, and her name I might have mispronounced, but please bear with me. So this powerhouse, my mom, when my mom found out I was doing this, she said, "Well, are you gonna mention the lady whose granddaughter I used to watch?" My mom has a daycare, and we took care of her granddaughter for many, many years. And so I was like, "Mom, there's no way we can do superheroes in Berkeley without mentioning her." So after years of political activism in Berkeley, she ran for city council at the age of 73. This is how much of a powerhouse and rock star this lady was. She served 8 terms in a row from 1984 to 2004. At 92, she was one of the oldest elected officials in the state of California. In 2007, the Berkeley City Council renamed City Hall in her honor. That's how amazing she was. And she lived to the age of 101. And as I said, we kind of had a connection personally. Her granddaughter went to my mom's daycare, and she was just as amazing in a city council meeting as she was when she was picking her granddaughter, her baby up. So it was just amazing that I was able to kind of just be in her presence and learn from her, just how to exist and how to, treat people with respect and things like that. So she is definitely a Berkeley superhero. Mr. Gus Newport, mayor of Berkeley from 1979 to 1986, and the second African-American mayor of Berkeley. Newport, a progressive, defeated the first African-American mayor of Berkeley, Warren Widener, in the 1979 election. And Mr. Gus, he was around when I was in high school, and he was a gentle soul. He was gentle. He kind of sat back and observed things, but he was very, very into what was going on at the time. So I have another question. So let me know in the chat, somebody at school at Craigmont that you think about when you think of someone who's kind of quiet and kind of watches everything but knows what's going on. Doesn't have to be a teacher. It can be one of your friends, or it can be a parent, but I just want you to think about Mr. Gus, because that's what he was. He cared a great deal about Berkeley. But if you was in a room with him, sometimes you might not even knew he was there, because he was always watching, trying to see how he can make things better. So who do you guys think about when you think about someone who's always watching you, but it's definitely just to make you a better person? I know for me, I think about my children. It seems like a lot of, they're always kind of watching me and, wondering, what type of choices am I making? And it's good because it helps me to just stay on track, and it's for a good reason, to help them to grow, So I love that my babies are kind of like people that hold me accountable. And we'll talk about some of that later on, about the names, some of the people at Craigmont who are superstars, who can help keep you guys on track. And we'll move on to Shyam Shabaka. Shyam is a leader in promoting sustainable urban agriculture, public health, and environmental, social, and economic justice in low-income communities in the US and in the sub-Saharan Africa. Shyam is the founder and director of Richmond's Eco Village Farm Learning Center. And I think about, and my question for you about this, because as we're reading through these, I really want you guys to try to just kind of make the connection and just really see how it's relevant to what's going on now. So this guy, I love that he is really involved with, the farms and farmers markets and things like that. And so when I read about him and about the farming learning center he has, I thought about how we have similar situations and similar setups with our Berkeley Farmers Market. The one's really the South Berkeley one right over there on Adeline. They do farmers market tours. And so a lot of times we go on a tour of the farmers market and we're able to talk to different farmers who are talking about some of the same things that Shyam was doing. And so this is important because we need to, just make sure that things that we are sustainable and that we, agriculture is just thriving. And so I really wonder, when we talk about farms, has anybody ever been to any farms in Berkeley? We have a few. The one I think about is the one that's right on Sacramento and Oregon Street. I believe that's Spiral Gardens. Has anybody ever been to Spiral Gardens? Okay, Miss Cannon has. So that's something else, another treasure in our Berkeley neighborhoods. I challenge you guys to go to Spiral Gardens and see what they're all about. And then when you get a chance, report back to maybe Niara or me or someone, try to get a message to me and let me know how you guys liked it, because it's right kind of tucked. You might not even know it's there, but it's definitely, it's amazing. It's amazing. Anika, can we look on the chat? And I'm curious to find out about the silent heroes that's in Craigmont, the people that sometimes look, that are kind of watching you, but making sure that you're okay.
Sure. We have from Miss Aki, Meredith Aki, Miss Annette. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it, Mako and Rainey, Jose Martin. Niara said Miss Dolores.
Okay.
Rebecca Esterson, sorry if I mispronounced it. She said Principal Cannon and Miss Kyoko.
All right, great.
Miss Dugan said Miss Irma. Jamie said Miss Kelly. Mako and Rainey said Amanda. Berkeley family also said Miss Kyoko. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right. Lizzie Hager Bernard said Principal Cannon, Miss B, and Mako. And Miss Cannon said Miss Palm. I think that's everyone so far.
Okay. And this, for me, is comforting to know how rich our community is, how many people are in Craigmont are, that, have our backs. So that's what I want you guys in this really understand, that Craigmont has always been that for me, my children, and then from hearing your responses, it seemed like it's still the same thing. So our last superhero for this evening is Dr. Vicki Alexander. Dr. Vicki Alexander, she helped make history in 2014 as the first city in the nation to pass a tax on sugar sweetened beverages like soda, juice, Capri Suns, Gatorades, all those drinks that have that extra sugar added. Dr. Vicki had something to do with a tax being put on that. And the importance of that is the tax, the extra money that's being paid for the drinks, the city funds programs to teach our community members about the bad things of having a sugar sweetened beverage. And so that, I really feel like that's awesome, because they're out there training water ambassadors is what they're calling them, to just challenge people in their communities and their homes to drink more water. So that's why this came into play. 3 years after the soda tax started, the sugary drink consumption was down more than 50% in Berkeley. So those water ambassadors are really doing their thing. They go to different, like I was telling you, the National Night Out. They have a presentation from the water ambassadors, and they're talking about the hidden problems with sugar, sweetened beverages, and things like that. So this was, it's really paying off. The soda tax gives money to our schools, gardening programs, as well as local organizations like Healthy Back Families and the Ecology Center. And so, does anybody go to the garden at Craigmont? Because a lot of this money helps our gardens in Craigmont. So in the chat, let me know if you go to the garden in Craigmont, and if so, what's your favorite thing to do in the garden? Because I know Niara, I came to visit the school one time, and Niara showed me carrots that she had grown. And I didn't know that they go into the garden like that. So it was really great to know that you guys are doing wonderful things with the children, with gardening. And it's just, it's great to see. And then the Ecology Center, I just want you, that's the people that help with our recycling. So at home, if you have a blue recycling bin, or might be gray, but your recycling bin is really, it's because of the Ecology Center. So these organizations are important, and I'm grateful that Berkeley passed this tax so we can get these programs going to help our families to cut down on the sugar sweetened beverages. And Dr. Vicky is a Berkeley superhero, because this is something that she really, really kind of spearheaded, and she really have a passion for it. Also, her being a former pediatrician, she definitely has a heart for the children and the health of them. Dr. Vicky is our last superhero. So I just wanted you guys, we're going to recap. Miss Mabel, she was the superhero that fought Bart. Mr. Rumford, he is the superhero who has the statue over on Sacramento Street, and he is the pharmacist and the African-American, the first African-American public officer, and just really wanted equal opportunity as far as employment and housing. Pastor Michael Smith, he is a superhero because he does so much for the community with these organizations, and then he hosts this National Night Out every year to just get people in a safe space at least once a year. So that is hats off to him. Miss Maudel, she's our powerhouse superhero for just being a city council member at the age of 73, and just being the oldest elected official, you know, not backing down, not letting her age distract or discourage her, and just fighting, you know, just a really, you know, the good fight, and just really living her life well. Mr. Gus, he's our superhero because he was the second African-American mayor of Berkeley. And he cared a great deal for this city. Mr. Shyam, he's our superhero because he's making the environment better. He's making sure that we are not going to just lose everything in nature, and that we need. He's helping our to stay together. And last but not least, Dr. Vicky, she's our superhero because she is helping our city get healthier by cutting down the consumption of the sugary drinks. Now it is question time. If you guys have any questions, and of course, I would love to go to the chat if there was any questions in the chat as well.